going with the program this morning. My commentary comes up in a moment. I'll open the phone lines at 9:35. At 10:10, we'll be facilitating a discussion with Dr. Nadine Spence on what is shaping up, or what is essentially JCF versus JFJ battle for the minds and support of the Jamaican public. And then at 11:10, we'll be joined by Stephanie Coy and Claudine Allen for a discussion in relation to a collaborative effort being led by Jane Foundation, the Caribbean Development Bank's Basic Needs Trust Fund, and Canada's Local Engagement and Action Fund. They'll be speaking with us about an initiative that is being rolled out across 4 parishes here in Jamaica, and we'll hear more from those contributors at 11:10. Now, as I came into studio this morning, the narrative battle weighed on my mind and is weighing on my mind. And when I speak of the narrative battle, I'm speaking primarily of governance and the leadership in the country, and the fact that we have 2 major political parties. On the one hand, there is the opposition PNP, which, based on their narrative, things are not going well. Jamaica leaves much to be desired, and Jamaica needs a change of government. That's what the PNP in opposition is contending. There are some observers, myself included, who will opine and advance the view that the parliamentary opposition are being purveyors of doom and gloom. And then there's the other side of the equation, where the government, certainly the governing Jamaica Labour Party, its narrative is one of optimism. Its narrative is one of, hey, things are gone, things are happening. And it is painting a picture of opportunities emerging and existing in the country, and Jamaica being well placed for accelerated takeoff and growth as a country. And for more reasons than one, I come down on the side of the opportunities and the optimism as espoused, not surprisingly, by the governing JLP. We will always have divergent views as people, but we can't lay claim to divergent facts. I'm going to repeat that because it bears repeating. We will have different opinions, we will have divergent views, but we can't have different sets of facts. And that is why, when you consider how a country is faring, you consider certain indicators. Yes? You look at what is happening with employment, you look at what is happening, are people investing in the country, are you having job losses in droves, is the country growing, what is happening with the crime management situation, debt, what is happening with its foreign reserves, all of those indicators. Yes, it speaks to the health of the country. And I say all of this because for the first time, as it were, in the history of Jamaica, you have an incumbent government making a case to be returned as government following the next general elections, and as we know, those are due in a couple months' time. Yeah? It's the first time you're having an outfit that is able to campaign on a record of performance, a record of achievement. And separate and apart from being able to campaign on such a record, every day you get up, or every so often, you are seeing the manifestations of an activist government. Activist in the sense that something is happening. Either motor vehicles are being delivered to the police, garbage trucks being delivered to the National Solid Waste Management Authority. The JUTC is expanding its presence in terms of new routes being serviced. Ground is being broken for some new development somewhere. And of course, the crime management situation remains encouraging. Murders up to the 17th of April, yes, 1st of January to 17th April is down 36%. And in terms of visibility and activism, I cannot think of any other prime minister in the history of Jamaica that is up and about the country, cutting ribbons, commissioning water systems. And we're not talking about just merely project announcement here. We're talking about project completion, the handing over of houses, the handing over of keys, whether it is NHT houses or, of course, houses under the new social housing program. All across the country, that's happening. And so yesterday, in the plains of southern Clarendon, the Prime Minister, along with a number of key stakeholders, including the Agriculture Minister Floyd Green, his Permanent Secretary, Dr. Dermot Spence, the British High Commissioner to Jamaica, Judith Slater, and a host of other key functionaries. They participated in the launch, basically, of what is dubbed the Parnassus Agri Park. The Parnassus Agri Park, of course, is part of the UK-funded 3.5 billion Jamaican dollars Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project. So the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project is a key element in that was launched yesterday, bringing no fewer than hundreds of acres into production in terms of irrigated acres. And I'll tell you why I find this to be of some moment. I started out my commentary this morning by characterizing the opposition PNP as being the purveyors of doom and gloom. I started out the commentary by making mention of the narrative that emanates from that quarter, from that segment of the population, from that space. And so, on the political stump, you will hear, primarily through the PNP's spokesman on agriculture, its embattled General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, you will hear mention being made of the food import bill and what is not happening in agriculture and what should happen in agriculture. Never mind the fact that those guys, the same PNP that he now serves as General Secretary, had 18 and a half years on the trot. And the question to them is, what did you do for agriculture? What did you do in terms of bringing land into irrigation and into production? Yeah? But you have the lament about land that should be in production that is not being in production. So some people will talk about what is not happening. And then there's the other set of people now, i.e. the governing Jamaica Labour Party, that is actually doing things that need to be done. So we can be agreed that agriculture is to play and plays a very important role in the development of any country. If we are to grow and develop as a country in greater ways, agricultural enterprise, agricultural activity has to be part and parcel of that. But some people have the luxury of talking the talk, and then those who govern have the awesome responsibility of doing things that will actually redound to and inure to the benefit of the farmers and the country as a whole. Because as you know, with agricultural activity, you are propping up your own food security as a country, as a people. So now, they talk about the 15% of Jamaica's land. Yes, which is 15% of the arable land, the land that is good for farming in Jamaica and can be farmed, only 15% of it being irrigated. And with the development yesterday, that number has now moved from 15% to 20%. So one set of people bawl and complain and talk and criticize, and then another set of people are actively busy and actively working to fix much of what has been neglected over many years. And it has been neglected over many years, certainly over 18 and a half years on the trot, by the persons who now form the opposition, that is the opposition PNP. It has been neglected largely because the country did not have the financial wherewithal to do and attend to many of the things that it would have needed to have attended to. And that's a frank reality. That's a stark reality. So they talk about 15%. But based on yesterday's development, Jamaica now has 20% of its arable land being irrigated. On page 5 of the Observer this morning, there's a quote from the Prime Minister here which is instructive. And quote, "When we complete the Pedro Plains project, which is going to cross the election cycle because it's a multi-year project, we would be at about 50%. That will be a profound shift in Jamaica's agriculture." So in other words, while Dayton Campbell talks about 15%, the Andrew Holness-led government has since moved it to 20%, and has, as the Prime Minister has indicated, certainly when he spoke at the Parnassus Agriculture Park, Agri-Park launch last afternoon, the Prime Minister mentioned that what now stands at 20%, when Pedro Plains comes on stream, it will increase considerably to 50%. That is no insignificant development. Not insignificant at all. And so, these are the kinds of things you welcome in a country. The agri-park will mean that small farmers, medium-sized farmers, and large farmers will benefit from opportunities. Many of the products that Jamaica should be pivoting towards are in fact being pivoted towards. One large investor, it was reported at the event yesterday, will be doing breadfruit, an assortment of orchard crops, so ackee, breadfruit, and mangoes. And we know how highly sought after those particular commodities are, especially in the Jamaican diaspora. So when we speak of the Parnassus Agri-Park, we're speaking of Jamaica's exports, we're speaking of our own food security, we're speaking of jobs for people, because we know agriculture is a considerable employer of persons. You're speaking about an income to the people being employed, income to government on account of tax revenue, and income to the investors, meaning the man who is going to now put down him hundreds of thousands of dollars or is millions of dollars in relation to an agricultural enterprise over there at the Parnassus Agro Park. Excuse me. And so, while there are those who just peddle a narrative of doom and gloom, the facts do not accord with that. When you open the newspaper this morning, you will see on page 5 the Parnassus Agro Park, the Observer that is. The Gleaner, although they reported it in a angle, using a particular angle, it is on the front page of the Gleaner. The Gleaner's front page reads, "Wage increases not enough." And that is essentially a pullout of one of the points the Prime Minister made when giving the keynote at the event last afternoon, as he made the point that productivity is of paramount importance, not just this business of incremental wage adjustments in the country. That will not cause us to significantly move the dial, as it were. So on the front page of the Gleaner is the Parnassus Agro Park. On page 5 of the Observer is the Parnassus Agro Park. And then when you get to page 10 of the Observer, you see the Prime Minister pictured with Ed Bartlett and Horace Chang. And the headline here says, "Game-changing Hard Rock Resort and Casino, Jamaica now closer." So in other words, there is a 1,000-room hotel for which ground has been broken, yes, to come on stream in St. James. And that hotel will be the Hard Rock Resort and Casino in Montego Bay. So the facts, the newspaper reports and the reports all over social media and elsewhere speak for themselves. We run to the break, and I will seek to facilitate your calls on 212-9824 or 462-0919. Stay with us. We're tuned to New Start 93 FM. I'm Marlon Morgan, and we are opening the phone lines 212-9824 or 462-0919. So just to repeat, 212-9824, and there is 462-0919. On Tuesday, the 29th of April, there are two organizations that may be considered as being, well, some would view them as having an adversarial relationship. So the JCF and the Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, are imploring Jamaicans to support them on Tuesday, April 29th. In the case of JFJ, they're imploring persons to wear black, as my producer and broadcast technician, Tanya Richards, is donning this morning. In the case of the JCF, they're imploring the public to don blue, as I am donning this morning. So come Tuesday, the 29th of April, the JFJ is imploring members of the public to stand in solidarity with them as they protest police violence by wearing black. And the JCF is asking members of the public to wear blue on Tuesday, standing in solidarity with them, the men and women who don blue as they go out and serve, protect, and reassure. Now, I know what I will be wearing on Tuesday, and it is definitely not black. I stand with the men and women in blue. Are they perfect? No. Do we have imperfections? Yes. However, if your grill a kick off at night time, you don't call Michael Jackson of JFJ you call 119, not 911, 119. The police you call. Yeah? If Michael Jackson of JFJ has any issue where police support is required, she can call herself. She has to call. Yes? 119. Anyway, we run to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Senator Morgan. Morning.
Yeah, greetings, Chief.
I will be wearing blue also. I'm a supporter of the police. I'm a full supporter of the police.
That's right. Yes, sir. Noted.
So I will be wearing blue. Michael Jackson have a problem. Michael Jackson feels to say his party would have get to tear down the Jamaica Labour Party by using a crime argument for getting his party into power.
No, I'm not suggesting working. What caller. I'm making no claim about what party Michael Jackson is sympathetic to.
I agree with you. I have no problem with it. I am putting it there, Senator Morgan.
Yeah?
Michael Jackson and his party was trying to use crime. Them tried to use the Integrity Commission to tear down the government. It did not work. They was trying to use also the police and feel to say crime would have out of hand. So they would have get to use that to tear down the government to get to office. And I will be wearing blue, Michael Jackson. That's why, in spite of Trump is mashing up the world, I totally agree with Trump to move those money that those people used to get.
So you're referring, who is this? Fox or Carl?
Carl, man.
Carl. All right, sir, Father Carl. So what you know, Sir Carl? The USAID related, cuts and other, financial resources from the U.S. government, the federal government, are drying up. Yes? And what you're saying is that to the extent that these resources fund NGOs, entities like Jamaicans for Justice,
right,
who you perhaps consider to be, an irritating force. Or you see it as a force parading as NGO, but in fact have political agenda at play.
Yes, man.
Well?
I am very happy, Mr. Morgan, that Trump take it away.
Well, one of the things I would like to posit, Carl, is that Jamaicans for Justice, certainly based on, its mandate and thrust in terms of advocating and lobbying as it relates to human rights, do have a place in the Jamaican society.
And I agree with you, dear Mr. Morgan.
The challenge many people have had, though, is that Jamaicans for Justice comes across as an entity that has an agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morgan.
And that's a challenge for Michael Jackson this morning.
I want to say something I can't stay along with you. Mr. Morgan,
yes, sir.
I don't know if you listen something that PJ Patterson said last week when he advised the government to make a different policy. And what even PJ Patterson think we have a full prime minister. Because if the government should go that way, and Jamaica people can't get their visa to go in America, PJ Patterson know that people would be in party without get to start saying, see it, if you don't vote for PNP, can't get visa to go to America. But all of them have them agenda.
The challenge for PJ Patterson this morning, Carl, is that having removed himself from the proverbial pavilion onto the field of play, he no longer dons the garb of elder statesman. And therefore, his opinions and views right now will be best suited for 89 Old Hope Road.
Old Hope Road, agree with you. Totally agree. And Mr. Morgan?
Yes, sir.
Me, I am 59 years old. So me there a long time now. And Mr. Morgan, I never know that I could have lived with the government in Jamaica led by Holness, where a black prime minister was born at Spanish Town, where having passport to Jamaica and he paper for Spanish Town and all of those St. Catherine. I never know that I could live to see Jamaica Prime Minister a breakdown for $3 billion out of the tax of Jamaica. That is 14 billion Jamaica dollar out of the tax of our country. None of it is borrowed PJ Patterson. None of it. All of it is a tax job. The revenue we take from the Jamaica people, PJ Patterson. None of them borrow money.
So which one of the projects? Remember now, the Prime Minister has many projects that...
The Prime Minister break last week tools out of Mandela Highway here.
Oh yes. You're talking about Raintree. You're talking about that Raintree complex out by ferry?
Yes.
As part of the Caymanas development area.
3 unit $90 in that when you work out that you work out to 14 billion Jamaican dollar PJ Patterson, and not even out of that PJ Patterson is borrowed. Is the tax of the Jamaica people because not tapanaris. They will have to pay no tapanaris in Jamaica, the high interest rate money PJ Patterson. Hold on for that.
Alright, here you loud and clear, Carl. I didn't even mention that one in my opening commentary this morning. In my opening commentary this morning, I made mention of the Prime Minister opening projects, whether launching or commissioning projects, left, right, and center. Every week there are a number of them. Yes? And I didn't even mention the Raintree one.
Mr. Morgan, when you're talking, all of those projects being funded by the taxpayer of Jamaica, no borrow money PJ Patterson and Omar Davis, and a white British citizen will have a H paper for our country.
All right, thank you for your input this morning, Carl. I have to run to another caller. So I mentioned earlier, listeners, that the JFJ has an agenda. Now, I have to unpack that, of course, because the JFJ, like any other organization and any other person, have to have an agenda. But what I mean when I say they have an agenda, I'm essentially touching on this business of advocacy vis-a-vis human rights that, in my view, do not reflect and do not accord with the actual situation on the ground. And like the police commissioner mentioned some time ago, when he responded to one of the salvos from JFJ against the JCF. JFJ as an NGO is essentially clamoring and has to be maneuvering for its own relevance and so on. And therefore, it is almost as though the JFJ has to play upon and has to amplify the human rights situation in the country in order for it to raise its profile and perhaps consolidate its profile. And so oftentimes, in my own view, the JFJ goes against the mood in the country itself and, of course, exaggerates or inflates, overinflates, quite frankly, this business of excesses on the part of the police. Anyway, going to another call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, Mr. Morgan. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Milton. I trust you had a good Easter weekend.
Pardon me?
I trust you had a good Easter weekend. I saw your member of parliament giving out millions of buns and cheese.
My member of parliament?
Yes, one Juliet and Marie Holness.
I never voted for in the intention of getting bun and cheese, big man. So I would never.
I didn't suggest that to you, sir. I didn't suggest that to you.
Pardon me?
I didn't suggest that to you. I simply made the observation I made in relation to the Easter period that we just observed.
The people vote for 2 terms longer that she can offer them bun and cheese.
Well, some people never offer them nothing.
Big man, let me tell you something.
We got taxes from some people instead of bun and cheese.
Person, because your class, they opposition at gloom and doom.
Purveyors. I said purveyors of doom and gloom, Milton.
Yes, sir. That's but you accuse them of that. But when you if it was your party in opposition, you would not say that thing. You would say the complete opposite.
No, but remember the point of distinction.
You can't hide, Mr. Morgan. Try to do, you just can't hide, right?
Yeah, but hold on, Milton. Remember the salient point I was making. The point I was making is that, because remember now, we practice a competitive politics here. We have a democratic system of governance in Jamaica, and we have two main political parties, right? PNP and JLP. And you're correct. When the JLP is in opposition, the JLP will criticize government and do what opposition parties do. The point I was making, Milton, is that the narrative of the PNP and what the PNP is purveying at present does not accord with what the actual reality is, which is why, Milton, John on this program, when he called into this program last week, I think it was, and Mark Golding in the budget debate decried statistics in the way he did. Because what the PNP was saying, as Mark Golding said in the budget debate, was that a man who is hungry, such and such statistics don't mean anything to him.
So is that true or false?
So, but Milton, the statistics are the statistics. Unemployment was at 3.5%. It has inched up a bit. It is now at what, 3.7%. So the statistics are important because the statistics, Milton, are the objective and empirical mechanisms to gauge the health of the country, which is why when you go doctor, then put on the blood pressure check machine for you and they tell you what is your systolic and your diastolic. Yes? That's why they do that.
All right, big man. The United Nations categorized, put in, we are talking different category, right? A vast amount of Jamaica workforce people not taking home $25,000 a week. And you put that, you are outlining the exchange rate this morning. So statistics sometimes misleading more than anything else, sir. And by right, it can't either.
So you say that to say what?
I say that to say, sir, I told you already, I'm an educator.
Well, so Milton, let me tell you how the statistics can Let me tell you how the statistics can as the Prime Minister said.
You can't move on to anything.
Huh?
You can't move on to anything. We've got label in it, same point over. Can't we move on to something else?
But you're the person who just made an observation. You can't make an observation and then...
So let's move on to something else, so big man, because you're not going to get me off my track.
No, but I'm not seeking to get you off your track, Milton.
You should be ashamed of make the people know that this is Holness. Who happen to be the wife of the Prime Minister is your bun and cheese to the people then.
Oh, so you know, so watch this now, Milton. We will unapologetically issue bun and cheese to the people then. Whether Milton loves it or not.
Mr. Morgan, with the great in comparison to other
Mother's Day, I want her to issue some Mother's Day baskets. You see, Teacher's Day, let's listen to me, man. Pause a moment and listen to me. Mr. Milton, pause a moment and listen to what I'm saying. You see, on Teacher's Day, I want her to go to the various schools in the constituency and issue big cakes, those big, lovely price mark cakes, and cut them up for the teachers. If that is a gesture that affirms the teachers and thank them on their special day, Teachers' Day. You see, Father's Day, I want Milton and other people to get Father's Day basket. And all of the days them, I want the Jamaican people to get things because them deserve it.
Can I come in now?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, man, you see? But if you think say that gonna revert the deficit, based on the finding of the poll last year,
finding of the poll.
March or February it was. You can't tell her she has something coming, you know. But giving out this and giving out that amount that she lost by in terms of the
farmers need to get support with chickens and fertilizers and so on. The Jamaican people deserve the things that we were not able to get when Omar Davies was finance minister.
Why you just hop in the politics?
Yeah, man, let us move on. We're going to move to science now. So let us move from politics to science.
Yes, sir. What about the JFD and the called civil society?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You put down the JFD and that society, the square, you know, big man. It comes like you want to make people as if you regard them as a branch of their anti-government. They are not, in my opinion, I don't think they're anti-government, big man.
I didn't say that. I suggest that.
Mr. Marlon, when people here are well-learned person like you behave that way, you put out what people are trapping out.
So watch me now, Milton. Let us reason out this thing now, right? What is JFJ's job? What do you understand JFJ's role to be?
You know, so you would
agree that they are a human rights advocacy group, right? You would agree that they are a human rights advocacy group, right?
I'm listening, Mr. Morgan.
No, man, I'm asking if you would agree that they are an NGO, a non-governmental organization. They are a lobby group. They are a human rights advocacy group. You would agree with that, right?
Go ahead, man.
Alright, so watch me again now, Milton. JFJ, based on how they have done their work over the years, have concerned themselves with the human rights of Jamaicans, right? Have you heard JFJ concern themselves, however, with the human rights of those persons who have had their lives snuffed out? In other words, what of Milton? What about the human rights of those persons who are at risk of dying because of the criminality and violence in the country? What about their human rights? Have you heard JFJ stand in solidarity? Have you heard JFJ stand in solidarity with those persons who have lost their life, or a policeman who has been cut down in the line of duty? I've never seen Michael Jackson at the funeral of a slain policeman.
In fairness, man.
So the question, Milton, do police lives matter?
Who?
Listen what me say, sir. Do police lives matter?
If you say JFJ doesn't express solidarity on behalf of victims, I think you are lying, sir. If you say they are not doing it enough, then fine. But don't say they are not doing it, sir.
Milton,
your reasoning?
When people's lives, when people are cut down, murders and whatnot, you hear press release from JFJ?
On several occasions I hear them talk.
I want you to tune my radio to the same dial where you're reading upon, so I can hear it too.
Them legal representation and those way, you know that.
Alright, so watch me now, Sir Milton. Have you ever seen Michael Jackson at the funeral of any policeman who has been cut down in the line of duty?
That alone wouldn't tell it, sir. You couldn't look on that alone, you know.
We'll move on to another point now.
Yeah, but
on Tuesday,
move on to another call.
Watch me now, Milton. Watch me now. On Tuesday, will you be electing to wear black or blue? If any at all. So, will you be electing to wear black in solidarity with JFJ come Tuesday, or blue in solidarity with the Jamaica Constabulary Force come Tuesday? Which of them you'll be electing to don?
You ask a good question, you know. You ask a good question, because I can't tell you, say, police the world over. If they suspect you have been anything, so they don't have to actually know, say you are that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get rid of one way, whether by legal or illegal mean, that's what the police votes more, you know that?
If they do what by legal or illegal means, if they do what?
If the police the world over.
Yeah, if they do what?
If they label, if they have reason to believe that you are a person who doesn't keep the peace.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Excellent point, Milton.
They're going to plan. We have means to get rid of you, whether it means be legal or illegal. You know.
All right. So do you accept that if the police get rid of you the illegal way, that they will be held to account? Do you accept that is so?
Account in what way, sir?
Then a policeman, if a policeman commits himself,
family can afford the attorney to represent them, sir.
Milton, an attorney doesn't represent you when you have a complaint against the police. That is a matter for the DPP and Indicom. You pay money to Indicom to raise a matter with Indicom?
Man, you know better than that. So the 98 people who got killed by police killing this week, and after that they hear how much murder they commit, and why they never say it before they die.
What way you know that talking point? The 98 people who have been killed by the police. How much of them the
family think can afford? You know, no for those people who get killed by police. No for them run going to count take money from the state.
But Milton, you say lawyer is for civil proceedings.
Big man.
We're talking about criminal proceedings here.
Yes.
You have the DPP. Which Jamaican pays the DPP? Or which Jamaican pays Indicom? You don't pay Indicom to advance an investigation.
Who is the DPP, sir?
The DPP is paid by us as taxpayers, not by individual people.
We know that,
based
but
on
like
government
in situate that she won the appeal.
Much to your chagrin. Anyway, I have to run leave Milton, because I have some other folks are seeking to come into the program.
Do, I'm glad you intend to give me my leave. So thanks for that.
Enjoy your bun and cheese, Milton, or what's left of it at any rate. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Marlon Morgan.
Yes, Marsh Rainier. Marsh Tolo?
No, Straight Marsh.
Straight Marsh. Yes, Straight Marsh. I just drive past a place at the weekend, one a place named Salt Marsh, and when I drove past it in Trelawney, you came to my mind. Salt Marsh in Trelawney.
I feel when the weight pressed down from me, you know. That's when your mind runs from me. I understand.
I trust no Marsh, you had a good Easter weekend. We got a little plug out of the politics.
Yeah, man. Thank God, man. Thank God I may come out alive. But
So what we're going to know?
Right now, your party making your life, your job difficult in defending them. Right now, it's not looking good. It's not looking good on your side. But when we really want to talk about the ombudsman, the JLP themselves a great disservice in taking the office of the ombudsman, put it in the EOJ. That is garbage. That is straight garbage.
You're referring to the ECJ.
I heard Conrad O'Brien make the point that it should take out, and I heard other people make the point. So that must take out of the. You can't make that. You can't. What they do that real nonsense.
You're saying to subsume the role of the ombudsman in the ECJ, you're contending it is nonsense, and that's on the front page of the Observer this morning. I'm going to read bits of it when I come back at an appropriate juncture. But on page 4 of the Observer, Chuck is saying here, Marsh, that the ECJ could also get a director of political conduct. In other words, a discreet officer, since it is that the commission is comprised a certain way with political party reps and whatnot, and you don't want those people to necessarily be in the decision-making aspect of it.
You mentioned the name Chuck?
Yeah.
I don't even want to hear nothing from him, because he might tell people that they must lie to the Integrity Commission.
No, man, but I addressed that matter some months ago. He did no such thing. He did the opposite of that, Sir Marsh, because you see in that instance, what he said, yes, was that essentially persons, based on their obligation to declare, if you do not know the emoluments of your spouse, tell them that you don't know. So he was speaking to, his exact words at the time, Marsh, was, I have advised the relevant member, or I advise the relevant members to tell them that you don't know. The relevant member is the operative word there, because this situation does not pertain to all 84 parliamentarians. It will be the parliamentarian who is not aware of or who does not know their spouse's emoluments. That's the parliamentarian he was referring to.
Like how you know a lot about the PNP, because I believe he is a part of the PNP, because you can't tell me a lot about the PNP.
Yeah, man, I'm a double agent. I'm a double agent, Marsh.
But you can't tell who are going with Delano and Christian Tavares and them people.
I'm going to reach the part there. I'm just at the PNP part right now. I'm a double agent, but I'm dealing with the PNP part now.
You're at the PNP part right now.
Yeah, I'm at the PNP. But soon reach the part there, though. And so soon as I get there, I'll apprise you.
Why the teacher them couldn't get them whatever them to get?
So it's an increment. So good point, because I saw a memorandum from the JTA's Secretary General to teachers up and down the country, indicating that yes, while the increment will be paid, it will essentially be paid over the May and June pay cycle.
No. The point about it, I'm afraid of that month, May, because let me tell you, you notice how a calendar set up. January and February, they march, because them a puppet, they march. But just April, April, you can't determine what April do. That's why them say April, May, and June is too light. You understand? So that promise about it will be paid. Will be paid when? Jesus will be coming, But we don't know when.
Let me tell you when it will be paid, Marsh. It will be paid in time for those teachers, some of whom are electing to take a little vacation break, to do, buy them little airfare and go cool out and unwind a bit as they deserve to do. Some of them, it will come in time to help with their back to school preparations, perhaps.
So when the police,
all kinds of things.
When the police will get their overtime pay?
I'd have to brief myself on that, but in the meantime, you can check with who's the police minister again now, Horace Chang, as to what the latest on that is.
That if him wake up.
And imagine, Marsh, he's sleeping and murders are down 36%. How much did that go down by when he wake up?
Listen to me. When the PNP left office.
Come back at 10:30, Marsh. Let us pick up at 10:30. You're tuned to News Start 93 FM. The program is Straight Up, and I'm your host, Marlon Morgan. We are in this segment going to be joined by Dr. Nadine Spence. She is an educator, public policy expert, and of course a political commentator. As we look to Tuesday, 29th April, where the JFJ and the JCF are asking members of the public to stand in solidarity with them by donning, respective colors, amid the JFJ's protest against police violence, they contend, and the JCF is asking members of the public to stand in solidarity with them. In the case of JFJ, of course, they're imploring members of the public to don the color black. In the case of the JCF, they're imploring members of the public to stand in solidarity with the men and women in blue by wearing blue. Morning, Nadine.
Good morning, Marlon. How are you?
I'm good. I trust you had a restful and enjoyable Easter weekend or holiday break.
It was restful for the most part.
Well, indeed, very well.
Yours was too. Yes.
Well, yes, man. I plugged out and rejuvenated, so that was good.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, first of all, this upcoming protest by JFJ, I want you to start out with your own view as to where we are and what is coming to a head, as it were, come Tuesday.
Well, I don't think it's any surprises that JFJ would have a perspective on police shootings. I don't think that's a surprise. We know that is part of the agenda. But I remember when one of the key asks of the day, we had other organizations, so that was a body that would investigate, look into, and then conclude about police shootings. And so we have Indicom, which was developed, established to take care of the anxieties that Jamaicans might have about
police excesses.
Yeah. So, I mean, my thinking through of it, Marlon, is it then that JJ is thinking that Indicom is not being efficient in its assessment of police shootings? Is Indicom not doing what it was tasked to do? That's one. The second thing is, having decided that we are going to operate outside of the Indicom framework by seizing a protest, I'm wondering what the protest is intended to do. Is it to say to the police, cool what you're doing, watch your actions because the public is dissatisfied? I'm not sure what the intention of the protest is supposed to be, because I'm not saying there shouldn't be a protest, but I think it should come after Indicom has done its assessment of the particular shooting that the JFJ finds concerning. And if it is that Indicom is not moving with alacrity, if it is that Indicom is not taking the the reports or the seriously, then I believe that, we could say we're not satisfied with how Indicom is undertaking its work.
Yeah.
I think to protest against the police is problematic.
Well, one of the things that, because JFJ is, delighted with Indicom and having Indicom as, a check and balance body and mechanism, what JFJ is contending, as is Indicom as well, is that the absence and indeed the paucity, let me not say absence, let me revise that and say the paucity of body-worn cameras
Right.
are an issue, because what they are contending, and I believe a part of it is exaggerated though, what they're contending is that to the extent that officers who are likely to come into contact with operational, public engagement kind of settings should, wear body cameras, and that would give an empirical and incontrovertible account of what is happening. However, there is also the view, Nadine, that in the real world setting, yes, you are not necessarily going to have a situation where the body-worn camera, albeit on the person of the police, picking up what actually transpired, because you may have not just blind spots, but when a policeman comes under fire and is returning fire, the policeman will not be able to be positioning the body-worn camera in a way to accurately and appropriately. It's not like a movie when the film director and the camera persons are capturing the exchange between, two sides firing at each other in a movie, for example. So there are limitations, in short, to the body-worn cameras. That's the point I'm making.
I mean, I hear that. I remember sitting on the crime partnership, the CMOC, and I remember that was one of the key deliverables and the agreements that we had used at the time when the CMOC was in full flow, and that the police were, at the time, acquiring the body-worn cameras, and to be honest, we saw that as part of the response to dealing with the perception that the police don't always act the way we want them to act, and I appreciate that, and I support that, right? Globally, people are moving to outfit police in the
for this precise reason, yeah.
For this precise
accountability and so on.
Accountability, I agree with that. So, but you know why some of us are a little bit nervous about this, and even though we agree with that principle of bringing more accountability in the voice, is that for the first time in a very long time, we're seeing crime trending down in Jamaica. And
in the sustained and significant ways in which it has. Up to April 17th, the country would have registered a 36%, Dr. Nadine Spence, reduction in murders.
Yeah. And there are a lot of Jamaicans who are looking on, who are saying, for the first time we're seeing something positive on the side of the management of our crime situation. And there are two things that came to my mind when I saw this. One, I said to myself, is it that there is the belief that the only way we are getting this result is because the police are engaged in excessive behavior. They're not following their code. One, they're not. And two, that Indicom has failed. Because to be honest, I feel as if we are, given where Jamaica is in relation to crime and the incidents of murders and shootings and so on, I believe as if our situation is not usual. And that if we are going to change the numbers and change the realities, there are some unusual things that are going to have to happen. In other words, we cannot maintain the status quo and expect things to change.
Exactly, because one definition of insanity would be doing the same things over and over and expecting different results.
Right, so I just think it's unfortunate that the public is being pulled in it in this way to take a side in a situation where you need people to buy into the idea of law and order. And you need people to support the police, because the problem that we have of people not trusting the police and not giving information is a huge problem,
Yes,
And
yes.
so while I support Jace,
Because it has prosecutorial implications, meaning implications from a criminal justice system standpoint.
Yes. And remember, part of one of the things that we have to do to bring the crime down is to build trust in the police. We have to. Citizens have to be able to see something happen and feel as if the people that we should call, the people who should be our best friends in this, is the police. And it's never ever going to be 100%. There's always going to be those. And there will always be police excesses. There will be some police who go rogue.
Whether over exuberant or rogue, yeah.
Right. But and we should we should always make allowances for that. But I think for me it's kind of disheartening to think that okay, we are getting this crime statistics that look good, but on the other hand we have a major player in our civil society grouping who is saying we're going to protest, and it sounds as if the wins that they're experiencing shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jamaicans...
Because there are some folks, Nadine, who look on, members of the public that is, and their sympathies right now are with the police because they, like you and other well-thinking Jamaicans, welcome the sustained reduction in murders. And they're looking on and they're viewing this kind of narrative and rhetoric from Jeff J as having the effect of demoralizing the police at a time when they are in the ascendancy, the wind is, behind them, and they should have the support of the Jamaican people in continuing to take the fight to the criminals in our midst. Those very people who have been in the ascendancy for years on top of years in this country.
That's very true. The matter of crime and its impact on people's sense of safety and people's ability to navigate Jamaica is a very serious thing.
Yeah.
And I think when people hear that crime is trending down, people feel a greater sense of hope into the possibilities for this nation. And I'm not saying that JFJ shouldn't have their issue if they feel that something is wrong here, but I don't know if a public protest, which looks like a protest against the police and can be interpreted as a protest against the police, is the way it should go. And so now what we have is a divide, Marlon. Some people who feel like we should support the police and some people who feel like we're not going to support the police. We don't want that kind of...
Yeah, it's inherently divisive. And where there's any divide vis-a-vis the men and women who serve, protect, and reassure, it will only and can only endure to the benefit of whom? The criminals in our midst.
The criminals, for those who are looking at this and are saying it is going to mean that the police are going to be less committed. Does this mean that we would rather keep the status quo and hope that things change, or we want a force that is going to go after those who are criminals and who are intent and causing mayhem and mischief and turning this country upside down? Are we serious about pulling out those who clearly we have a problem where we have more criminality than most nations, right? What should we use to judge police action? And that's why it's important for me that we talk about, what does INDICOM, what is the result of INDICOM's intervention? Is it that INDICOM are finding that police intervention is leading to a host of extrajudicial killings, and policemen and women are being taken in front of the courts? Are we taking this seriously enough when a police is caught to have committed a crime? Does the judicial process fall apart and they are not held accountable? I think there are several questions that we have to ask before we get to the point where we say we are not satisfied with how things are handled, and so we have to take to the streets. Have all our processes, institutions, systems, and legislative arrangements broken down so that we cannot get the results that we want.
Indeed. Now, a few months ago, there was this strong and assertive and strident, I would say, pushback by no less a person than Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake, following one of the salvos, as it were, from JFJ, when he was essentially making the point that, JFJ, they have a narrow and myopic agenda in terms of, seeking relevance and just pandering to its immediate advocacy imperatives as an NGO. But he, as the police commissioner, has a much broader obligation in terms of law and order, and the men and women under his command are not going to relent. They're not going to, be swayed in any way in taking the fight to the criminals in our midst. So is that a part of what we see fueling this situation on the part of the human rights lobby group JFJ, this perpetual ecosystem and clamoring for, donor funds and remaining relevant, as it were, and raising the profile of its advocacy and being seen so to do, which is why something like a protest would be a fillip in the cap in that regard?
Marlon, that's one of the criticisms that's leveled against the third sector, civil society, is that the agenda of civil society, and I'm not speaking here necessarily to JFJ, but civil society
as a whole,
overarching because of where its funds come from and because of the narrative that you need to create to get funding. But there is always that criticism against civil society organizations about their agenda and who does the agenda setting for civil society organizations. And it's a legitimate criticism to be honest, because we know that there's a particular kind of narrative that is fun about countries like ours internationally, and that it is for these reasons that developed countries create funds to fund work in countries like ours, because there's a belief that these kinds of realities are present and so these people need help. And that is why, our economic recovery is so important to our full independence as a country and our ability to not just fund development intervention as a government, but also fund intervention to ensure that human rights are protected and that those citizens who feel as if they have to organize themselves to keep a check on the state, however the state exists, can find funding internally to do so. And it's very important for us to start to look at how the agenda setting exercise of civil society organizations is done, so that we begin to understand what their imperatives are, so that when they take action we can kind of
from whence it is.
We know from when it comes, because civil society organizations will do what civil society organizations do. Because
these organizations prepare reports, they provide updates and reports to their donors, for example, and they put out publications like annual reports to essentially attest to their own stewardship.
Exactly. But the truth is they're not obligated to report to countries to interest inside our country. They're reporting to interests outside, and so their accountability mechanisms are not necessarily mechanisms that we are familiar with or have access to. So I think it's important for us to recognize that citizens have a right to protest action, and they have a right to share their perspectives on certain activities of the state. We mustn't take lightly the matter of the police. The police is that arm of the state that has the right to use force and, if necessary, lethal force. But it has some conditions under which that is done.
Indeed.
And I have appreciated JFJ's advocacy through the years, and so I'm not going to jump and say, they're after the police, because they have been consistent in this idea that there must be a check on the way the police use their force. But I think a protest in the streets now is looking like a protest against the police.
Yeah.
And in a country like Jamaica,
you can't escape that optic.
Carefully executed. Because we tend to have a reputation of being lawless and being the most murderous place on earth.
You see, I am hopeful, Nadine, that as the crime situation, the landscape, because we have had a tough landscape in this country, killing people in the way war-torn countries do in terms of civil war and so on, can be sustainable. It cannot be countenanced. And to my mind, to the extent that crime, murder outturn in this country goes to levels that could be quote-unquote considered as more tolerable and on par with hemispheric and regional averages, I think it will have implications for policing in Jamaica as well. You are likely to have a kind of policing, a kind of culture and dynamic that is less hawkish, if I could use that word.
Yeah, man. Understand. And you know, that is also important for us to assess, you know, what is the context in which the police in Jamaica is operating.
Very tough and trying, just like the teachers in our classrooms. Our classrooms rough and grimy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the strategies and the intervention that the police will draw on are not going to be ones in countries where
it's not like when you're policing in Switzerland and Sweden. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're out of time, though, Nadine. I really thank you for those perspectives this morning as we looked to this topic. And, you know, members of the public are being asked to stand in solidarity.
Yeah.
And thanks for that input this morning. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
All right, so that was, listeners, Dr. Nadine Spence weighing in on this upcoming protest action of JFJ. And of course, Tuesday, the JFJ will be protesting police violence, they say. They are imploring members of the public to wear black. The JCF is imploring members of the public to wear blue, standing in solidarity with the men and women in blue, the JCF, as they serve, protect, and reassure. We go to the break and come back with more of your cause here on Straight Up.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere. Contact News Talk 93 FM today via phone at 876-927-1660, extension 2475, or 876-427-9955. Email us at newstalk93fmsales@gmail.com. Visit our website at www.newstalk93fm.net.
Host your next event at the UWI Regional Headquarters. Our venue, located in Mona, Kingston, features reconfigurable meeting and seminar rooms, lounges, and lawn space for events large, small, and anywhere in between. Our facilities can be tailored to suit any occasion, from stylish soirees to formal business meetings. Call 876-927-2425 or 876-455-9346 to book your event. The UE Regional Headquarters, where great minds come together.
Join News Talk 93 FM this and every Sunday at 2 p.m. for On Campus, a weekly snapshot of happenings and highlights from the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. Tune in at 2 p.m. on Sundays as we explore groundbreaking events, trailblazing trends, and interesting personalities from the UWI Mona campus, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. That's On Campus, a weekly snapshot here on News Talk 93 FM.
Are you ready for a change? Then join Naveen Harris and Dr. Neva Campbell for Transforming Lives 180, The Road to Success, every Saturday at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on News Talk 93 FM. Take the journey in praise and worship, discussions, interviews, health talk, and more. Transforming Lives 180, The Road to Success, every Saturday at 8 to 10 a.m. on News Talk 93 FM.
To participate on our programs, call, WhatsApp, or text us at 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. And go follow us on Instagram at News Talk 93 FM.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
with you here on the sound of News Talk 93 FM. The program is Straight Up. I'm Marlon Morgan, and we're going back to your calls. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Brother Marlon, what my brethren?
Yeah, morning, Sir Fox. How you doing?
Well, I'm there, I give a thanks. Big up yourself, Brother Marlon, and go and do the work same way.
Yeah, man, big up yourself as well. How was your Easter holiday period?
Good, man. Me get me someone from MP, man, Miss Holness, man. Very good.
You're out that side. You know, I never know that you're out that side.
Yes, man. So now listen what Milton I say, man. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Holness do our work to the Easter holiday, we big her up anywhere she there, you know?
Yes.
Brother Marlon.
Yes, Chief.
You know what me like about you?
Mm-hmm.
When you're giving interviews, you're not bucking and put word in a people's mouth.
Yeah, man, I don't have to editorialize. I have my forum and my opportunity to editorialize.
Yes.
I have invited the guests, met the guests though, for them talking.
Yes.
I mean, I feel walk and hold them hand.
Yes, man, and Conrad Brian, he needs to learn from you. Because you not put word in a people's mouth when you interview, you talk, and make people, and wait and make somebody make their own time.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Me like how you do your interview with them, Virgin. Listen to me now.
Yeah.
Me hire out my blue shirt already for read that word Tuesday morning.
That is it.
Hang up. You hear me, Brother Marlon?
That is it.
Me ask Milton a question, I couldn't answer you.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Never see any member of the JSJ at a slain policeman funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Marlon, you see, in my view, I don't know about your view, you know, but my view, the People National Party, with Mark Golding and Peter Bunty and Dayton Campbell, them no want to see crime go down like this country. Because me can tell you, leading up to the 2020 general election, crime was one of their main campaign strategies.
Yeah, man, a main talking point. You know, in other words, you have to be discussing all kind of things now. You hear man talk about constitutional reform. Because Mark Golding was in Southeast St. Anne last evening.
To that, man.
So they might talk about all kinds of other things because crime can't keep right now. They can't talk about, you know, so the murder and the bloodshed and all of that. They can't come with that this time around.
Senator, crime not keep, unemployment not keep, low wages for the public sector and the civil servants. It not keep, so they can't go there, so Brother Marlon. All me hear them going back about integrity commission. It can't keep.
So them hope Greg Christie and Kevin Stevenson can keep them relevant. That's what they're banking on. And hoping now that Ronnie Lawrence can come and help them to be relevant.
But after a question, you know, Brother Marlon, what you doing, Becky? Ronnie Lawrence related to the Honorable Judge Lady.
They have the same surname. Ronnie Lawrence is Lawrence.
Is there any relationship between them?
Beswick's maiden name is Lawrence. So we don't know of any known relations. It would be for them to come and tell us that. So let retired Justice Carol Lawrence Beswick come and apprise us as to whether there are any known family relations between herself and Ronnie Lawrence.
And then we the public out there is calling for them to do something about that friend that self-claimed friend that Dayton can be claimed is in 20 years and it smells trouble.
Sir Fox, there's a clear potential conflict of interest. It is very clear, it is very inescapable because the truth is whether to the extent that Dayton Campbell is General Secretary of the PNP, any matter touching and concerning a matter having to do with a PNP member is going to be in play. And similarly, any matter touching and concerning a JLP member is also in play. Because why? The PNP members are the cumblers of Dayton Campbell, whereas the JLP members are the adversaries of Dayton Campbell. So either way you take it, Ronnie Lawrence's situation is unacceptable and untenable in my view.
Very untenable. And let me tell you something. The Integrity Commission should be far advanced since the new chairman stepped in my region. They should be far advanced and looking over some things and even tackle up themselves whether they want to look over the documents, because clearly no charge was brought against the Honorable Prime Minister. And then make the PNP have this on a political platform for years. And now, my brethren, I think the Honorable WJ was coming with a clean slate, a clean hand, and ready to say, you know what, I am going to see what's the problem with the Prime Minister. Because, you know, everybody is watching this, and she's way up in society, she's watching this.
Mm-hmm.
And my brethren, more answer something, you know, before me go.
Yeah, man, go ahead, man.
I hear Damian Crawford and Mark Golin, that outdated relic, talking about children are going to school for hungry and they are provide one meal a day. Rubbish, Marlon. Me, I tell you how rubbish matter. Back in the 90s, coming down when children were going to school, the bulla and the milk was very much there. And over time, that evolved. When the bulla don't come on Monday and Wednesday, we have what we call the guidance counselor, which people are having you. I am telling you, know.
Yeah, man, I know that because you get a meal solution. So, students who are in need, so if you are financially incapable,
yes.
through the guidance counselor, an arrangement would be in place, and you get nutrition support at the school.
All right, so listen me now, Marlon, because me a talk here, you know.
Yeah.
Under the Bruce Golin administration in 2007, come right now. When he was going to when children was going to high school, all they need to do if the guidance counselor know that they are on path, or know that they don't have a lunch, then the guidance counselor will write a little thing, or I'll give you a little ticket then.
Mm-hmm.
And just have to find
so
out.
You go to the canteen.
Man,
you get a meal solution.
Listen to me. So when the outdated PNP relics then come and contact rubbish and attack fullness, me know the system.
There you go.
Right now, what is happening right now? At the primary level, Brother Marlon, the children get the same meal like everybody else. Nobody don't know.
There's no differentiation. There's no turkey neck and rice for one set and fried chicken and rice for another set. It's the same solution. Right. And at least the schools are encouraged to deliver the same solutions to all. Anyway, we have to run.
Give me 20 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Yes, so listen to me right now. When the children at the primary school level, they don't pay a full cost for the daily lunch if they are on path. And remember, Marlon, the children have them money and come a post of it or in them parents' account a monthly time. So them pay half cost. So
they pay a heavily subsidized rate.
Tell how outdated Mark Golin and the PNP relics them and what would say. Jamaica garners them, and we still say Andrew Holness for the third time.
Alright, I hear you, Fox. You're saying Jamaica digital and they are analog. So they are in a previous dispensation. Alright, thank you for that intervention, Sir Fox. We're going to come to another call just now. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, Marlon. I just should.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Now, what you just said a while ago concerning Mr. Lawrence and the Integrity Commission.
Yeah.
And so it's untenable because him and Heath Campbell are pass here from when I went.
Anyway, take it. Kumbolo. Them are Kumbolo.
Yes. Now, you're technically saying that the Prime Minister business partner should not have those positions.
No, man, I'm saying no such thing. It's quite the contrary. When a minister is a minister, Marsh. Alright, I'm going to listen because we're having a dialogue. Go ahead, sir.
You're technically saying that the Prime Minister business partner should not be in the position that he's in with him and the Prime Minister business partner.
No, sir, I'm not saying any such thing. Do you believe that the persons appointed by a minister are strangers to the minister? Or the better question is this. Steve Ashley and Vin Lawrence, what were they to PJ Patterson?
I don't know.
No, you don't know. You don't know.
So what you're saying then?
I'm saying quite simply, in as much as Mr. Honeywell or Honeygun is known to Philip Paulwell, And Vin Lawrence was known or is known to PJ Patterson. The persons who serve as ministers, just like Andrew Holness, will entrust and appoint persons to boards who are known to them, who are their cumbellers, and persons who they consider appearing to be suitable to them to serve and discharge a particular oversight and fiduciary responsibility in relation to a board, whether as a board member or as a board chair. The first board I served on, hold on, Mr. Marsh. The first board I served on in government is a board called the National Council on Education. Andrew Holness was the education minister at the time. This was 2010, I believe it was, or 2009. Yes? So because I was a cumble of Andrew Holness on the JLP's PR committee, he saw in me the capacity and the skill sets that would suit that board, and that's how the board appointment was made. He never did ever take up Mr. Marsh so to do, because Mr. Marsh is not known to him as someone who has the skill sets that will suit the National Council on Education. That is why PJ Patterson had Vin Lawrence serving as the chairman for UDC. So that's Mr. how it works.
No, Mr. Lawrence, no.
Ronnie Florence is a prosecutor, Mr. Marsh. So watch me now. Ronnie Florence will have from time to time, or may have from time to time, referrals brought to his desk by the Director of Investigation, whether that person continues to be Kevin Stevenson or Mr. Marsh or Mr. Al. Right? So now, when Ronnie Florence sits as the Director of Corruption Prosecution, in this case he's acting, he should not have anything operating on his mind. For example, his cumbelership with Dayton Campbell should not be operating on his mind if he sees something comes to his desk with Angela Brownburt name on it. He should not have his cumbelership with Dayton Campbell operating on his mind when he sees something come to his desk, yes, with Andrew Wheatley's name on it, or with J.C. Hutchinson's name on it, or any other name on it. So the point being made here, Mr. Marsh, is that Dayton Campbell has a particular vested interest in the PNP, a private interest and a personal interest in the PNP and the PNP's welfare and how it and its members fare. And Dayton Campbell, similarly, and by the same token, Dayton Campbell will always have a vested interest in having one over on his political opponents. His main political rivals and opponents are those persons in the JLP. It is very simple logic, sir.
So the wedding where them get, the wedding where them go now, and cast all of this array. Why the Director of Public Prosecution was at that same wedding? And it's not a problem. Hello, Marlon, answer.
Why the Director of Public Prosecution was at that wedding?
Yeah.
The Director of Public Prosecution, as far as I'm aware, is not a cumbeller of Dayton Campbell. He's not in a sensitive position like Ronnie Florence at the IC in relation to determining and opining on matters having to do with prosecution or non-prosecution of members of the political directorate.
Cut the level of hypocrisy. What we really call to talk back to you about is the stupidness you want up and down and I talk about JFJ.
By the way, before we come to the stupidness, on Tuesday, March, will you be electing to wear black or blue?
I wear neither color, but listen to me. Listen to me.
If you go down the road right now and them hold you up, who are you going to call?
Marlon, cut the garbage.
No, say garbage, that's why I say it.
The people in this country is not against the police. And JFJ is not against the police. It's just lie and propaganda on a really spread. What the people talking about, you can't just hear information about a man and go kill him. Information
so Marsh, if a police go ahead, I'm gonna allow you.
Information sometimes is wrong. Remember the Prime Minister get information, say Klansman has sell land over Clifton, and then go in a house to talk, and then cap bulldozer go buck down the people them place. At the end of it all, it was one of him, the Prime Minister, friend them did a sell the land over Clifton.
Rubbish, Sir Marsh. A lady being an educator at a school doesn't mean that she's the Prime Minister's friend. So that is incorrect. That is incorrect. Anyway, Sir Marsh.
What the case there?
Let me put this question to you because we have to run to another call. If a policeman goes and kills somebody because them hear something and that killing is unjustified and unjustifiable, what will happen to the policeman? He never catch trouble? So you think I saw a policeman fool?
Hold on.
You know of policemen and women being that fool?
But let me answer you. Look at so many cases, right? That come up against the police and they die that slowly dead. Look at the Maria Bean situation. Look how many years in Pitney Barn, spending time down.
But Maria Dean's matter that's before the courts now, Sir Marsh.
The point I am trying to make to you, because you like cut across the people when I'm at the past.
Yeah, man.
If the only way we can solve crime is to go around, beat up school picnic, we go in with one people, baby mother out of their own.
Bash. We're solving crime because Horace Strong is sleeping. Because when he wake up, he will have a 70% reduction in murders.
Because try to be honest, what we are saying, we are not against the police. You not support police like them all up. Me on television, big up myself to me, I'm afraid to come back in my community when I defend police.
Understood. Okay.
Right? We are not against what we are saying. They must do their work more professional.
All right, so Marsh, so Marsh, consider this for a moment. Consider this for a moment, Marsh. No, Marsh, we're interrogating the logic a bit. We're interrogating the logic right now. Zine? It is being pervaded by PNP supporters like yourself, yes, and operatives, that the crime numbers are down because police are kill off bad man. So now, why when police did a kill off bad man in the past, the crime numbers were high? If that logic is to hold, why did we not have a similar reduction in murders when police went a kill off bad man left, right, and center in Jamaica?
When the JLP come in a power with you, and we start have them whole heap of triple murder and triple this, triple that where we have under this man watch, right? And then bring it down back under clean watch. We want the crime to reduce. We want it to reduce. But the 100 odd people with police kill, all of them that did the murderer. That's what you're saying to me? That's what you want to tell me,
I have made no such claim. Are you going to make that claim, man?
No, me
anyway, we have to be fair to the other callers. We have to run to another call, Sir Marsh.
We in favor, we support the police. We're not supporting their wrongdoing.
Yeah, man, all right. But any well-thinking Jamaican would support the police and not countenance any wrongdoing or excess on the part of the police. So we're on the same page.
Like myself, I would want to support their wrongdoing.
Yeah, so we're on the same page then, Marsh. Yeah, thanks for that support. We're on the same page then. So Mr. Marsh is saying that he supports the police, but he does not countenance or give approval of any excess or arbitrary and indiscriminate conduct on the part of the police. And so say all of us, Mr. Marsh. Morning caller, welcome to Straight Up. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, go ahead, Mr. Al.
Marlon.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're putting yourself in a situation that you become a joker.
That's right.
You become.
So when you buy a deck of cards, the 52 cards. Hold on, man. When you buy a deck of cards, When you buy a deck of cards, you get 52 playing cards, and there's at least one or two others. You see that joker in the deck of cards? That is me.
Okay, all right. Now that I'm playing, Jack.
Yeah.
I saw you a poker card. This morning I heard you with one outlandish argument.
Because I'm a joker.
Yes, and that is it, and you have been classified as one. I mean, the caliber may look very ordinary.
Anyway, go ahead. What was the point of saying I met this morning now?
This morning I hear in one parambles in your opening remarks.
Parambles.
Yes, man. That it just unfit for human consumption. That I won't even bother refer to, because what you were saying, it doesn't even make sense.
But you have to cite the example, sir, so we can examine the matter.
I know you have the tendency from JC, as somebody told me yesterday, in order to behave the way that you continue to behave from campus. I'll ask you one question.
A person misleading and misinforming you. I didn't attend JC, sir.
The person was Mr. Holness, head boy of St. Catherine High
School. Yep.
Okay. Is there any person that he appoints in recent time that he and himself went to St. Catherine High? You know of any?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. Who is the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operation?
The Deputy Commissioner of Police? Tell us now.
Yes, in charge of operation.
I know the crime portfolio was Fitz Bailey, who has since retired. New people now. I don't know who is the person in charge of.
Well, stop saying that you are a spokesperson and the information and the PR of the government when you don't know any such thing. I put this to you.
Who is the operations portfolio deputy commissioner?
You don't know, and I want you to do your homework and do some investigation. When you do investigation tomorrow, say me like me bad to you now. Tomorrow you must come and tell me. Dig deep and find out. Do you know that 12 persons that went to the same school with Mr. Holness, during his tenure and after being head boy, they are now employed. And I can tell you where they're employed and what their portfolio
they're employed in the JCF?
Yes. And not in the JCF. JCF is a part of it also, and I could tell you all of their responsibility. Let me say this. In some dictatorial leadership of government around the world, they surround themselves with their own judge, like Trump. They surround themselves with their own police and prosecutors. And they try in order to cover themselves while they are in the middle and they are protected by the circle. And we know some people spend quality time studying how dictators work, and they are practicing quietly.
All right, so let us come to this point. Let us come to this point. You see, a Deputy Commissioner of Police who would have gone to school with Mr. Holness, that person would have risen to the rank of Deputy Commissioner of Police, yes, based on being promoted over the years and moving whether through accelerated promotion from being an ASP to now being DCP, or from a constable of police when they may have entered to being DCP. What we want to know now, and that's why we're calling for the investigation. Well-thinking Jamaicans are calling for the chairman of the commission, the Integrity Commission, to look into this matter. What were the circumstances? Hold on. What were the circumstances under which Mrs. Prince Kamika was jettisoned from the IC, such that Mr. Ronif Lawrence would have been tipped by Greg Christie to come and act? Yes, we need to have those questions looked at.
Why is it that Miss Llewellyn Llewellyn age has to be reassigned and refixed?
Her age is reassigned.
I heard you talk. Well, remember the start. You talk to Marsh, and Marsh you talk to me.
No, man, Marsh, the brightest man in the world.
You're not talking to Marsh now. You're talking to me, and welcome to complex matters. Here is it that you're telling Marsh about the DPP and the prosecutorial disadvantage and advantage and what Mr. Lawrence will do. You know, but I tell you something, you live in an age of disinformation and misinformation. And you believe that you have mastered disinformation, like Donald Trump people them were on the VC vans on them, in order to tell people what is truth, which is your truth. The reality is that the no government members of parliament, including Ed Bartlett and Johnson, has no right to write a letter to the chair of the IC and publicly send it to Nationwide. And to send it, make you and Nationwide people them in private and discuss the letter. And when they discuss what was sent, compound read in unison, coming out, hit out against people. That is the reason why I'm saying to you, the people of this country, that when I drive around the country over the weekend, right? Because I don't believe in the bellicosity, people give people born on that, well, I make trillions of dollars. And
what kind of cross it name? Bellicosity?
Burn and put on in the picture. Giving people burn and put on in the picture because I think so that is what poor people want. The bellicosity.
Sir,
following
that Robert Chin, I saw over the Easter weekend, Al, an attempt to rehash that gaff by Robert Chin several years ago.
I don't know about gash. I know that
gaff, G-A-F-F-E.
I know that it happened. I want the best for you, know. I'll tell you something why. Because you're being told at school where the people they tell me yesterday say, you don't know why you're over that side because 90% of the world's not over that side because they are bright people. But
and then the 10% of them not bright.
I went to JLP Love Police. Bruce Golding go down on North Street with one boy named Zion Train and take on the police to the point by which defense of Zion Train. When I look at this down there.
Sir, I'll have to run now. We're up on 11 o'clock, so I have to run. But the police serves, protects, and reassures. And well-thinking Jamaicans, like those in the JLP, support the police. Anyway, discontinue that call. So well-thinking Jamaicans, Al, support the men and women of the constabulary as they go about serving, protecting, and reassuring. All right? Straight up, I'm Marlon Morgan. In this segment of our program, listeners, we turn our focus to community matters, where we explore the issues shaping lives across Jamaica and indeed the wider Caribbean. Now, today, we're spotlighting a powerful new initiative aimed at building stronger, more sustainable and resilient community organizations through financial literacy. Now, beginning April 25, that's tomorrow, I reckon, a major training program will roll out across 4 parishes, those being Kingston, Manchester, St. Anne, and St. James. And the intent is for them to reach 200 civil society and community-based organizations. The goal? Well, the goal is to equip these groups with essential financial skills that will help them better manage their resources, meet donor requirements, and ultimately deliver more impactful programs in the communities they serve. Now, the initiative is a collaborative effort led by the JN Foundation, the Caribbean Development Bank's Basic Needs Trust Fund, and Canada's Local Engagement and Action Fund. So joining us this morning to discuss this initiative are Stephanie Coy. She is Program Manager of the Field Support Services Project Caribbean. Morning, Stephanie.
Hi, good morning, Marlon, and good morning to your listeners as well.
Thank you. Morning. Thanks for joining us. And there's also Claudine Allen. Morning, Miss Allen.
Good morning.
And of course, Claudine is the General Manager of the JN Foundation. So welcome, ladies. Thanks for making yourselves available to us for this very important conversation. Well, let me start with Claudine. You are GM of JN Foundation. Give us a sense as to why JN Foundation saw it fit to, associate itself with this particular initiative.
We were really happy to be able to execute the workshops in partnership with CDB and Weath, because it fits so well within our general financial inclusion and financial literacy trust. As you know, April is Financial Literacy Month, and in our work with Jamaicans generally and with community groups, we've always tried to address financial literacy gaps that we identify. And in talking with the CDB last year, Richard mentioned the results of the Basic Needs Trust Fund report, which showed that for some gaps that we thought we could leverage our expertise in financial literacy to address for community groups. Typically, we've been working a lot with individuals to help to boost their own financial literacy levels, but working with the groups complemented very nicely what we do in general and what we have experienced in funding some of these projects that we have been approached to make come to fruition.
All right,
So
and
the workshops are going to focus on some of the gaps that we've identified in the research and in our own experience.
all right, and Stephanie, give us a sense as to how extensive your organization would have been working over the years. You are program manager of the Field Support Services Project Caribbean. From your vantage point, share with our listeners as to your footprints and antecedents in this kind of intervention.
Okay. The Local Engagement and Action Fund, LEAF, is a local development initiative that is funded by Global Affairs Canada as part of their Caribbean Regional Development Program. And LEAF is being implemented in 8 countries: Belize, Jamaica, Guyana, Suriname, and 4 countries in the OECS: Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. And specifically in Jamaica, we launched LEAF in 2022. And since then, we have issued call for proposals, and we have funded projects in all 8 countries. We are currently closing out the first set of projects that we funded. And those participants are the Clarendon Parish Development Committee. We also have Bureau of Gender Affairs and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. We have new projects that we have taken on now, and that includes St. John's Bosco in Manchester. So we have been supporting community-based organizations in all 8 countries. The project will end in 2027. And along with the funding support that organizations will get, a main component of LEAF is the capacity building support. And that is why we were very happy to partner with the JN Foundation and CDB BNTF's project in implementing this financial literacy workshop, because good financial management is extremely crucial for community-based organizations in them being able to attract donors and also in them realizing their mission.
Yeah, and complying with the donor, requirements and whatever the obligations are, certainly from a financial stewardship standpoint.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, Claudine, earlier you spoke about some gaps that, your work and studies would have unearthed. You wanted to share some more with my listeners in that regard?
Oh, absolutely. So typically community-based organizations can be run by volunteers sometimes. And what that means is that you have a high turnover in terms of who is present. The tenure of officers can be cut short and that sort of a thing. We also see where their heart is in the right place, in that they want to do good work, but sometimes the skills in terms of the administration and stewardship, as you mentioned before, is not there. We've noted absences of the structured approach to operations and to executing initiatives, even in partnerships as well. Who is it that is the keeper of the record? Who is the keeper of the purse? Is it the treasurer or the president, or is it the community stalwart who is doing it as a favor but not really a part of the group? And so all of the group's funds are in that person's accounts. We see a lot of informality with respect to the handling of funds. Oftentimes you have things like clear conflicts of interest as well. People in the business world would be more tuned to those things than volunteers who are working at the grassroots. And the truth too is that many of these groups sometimes approach their operations in a casual manner, because they're looking at what they want to achieve in terms of the outcomes. They want to reduce violence, or they want to improve the opportunities for farmers, or they want to bring climate conscious facilities to their community center. They're looking at that as opposed to doing it in a business-like structured manner. And what we've done is to put together some content that we think can help them to establish an achievable financial management system, because it is about financial literacy and inclusion, right?
Yes, yes.
So we're introducing them to the core features of a financial management system, basic things such as role definition, documentation, records keeping, and of course on the 100% financial side now, the truly financial side, the money management side, budgeting, tracking, monitoring, measuring spend, keeping physical records in a way that at the end of what you can be audited comfortably. Practical things like that, we'll be sharing tools that they can use to assess their own operations and identify the next steps that they will have to take to improve how their clubs and groups are structured. And we're trying to make it relevant, attainable, and how realistic for them, bearing in mind that many of these groups are not groups that have access to funds to purchase systems, etc.
Yeah.
So we're sharing practical things that you can use free of charge, open
or
source,
without exorbitant costs.
tools,
Yeah.
or without exorbitant. Importantly, though, on the financial inclusion side, we note, as I mentioned earlier, that many times there are arrangements with volunteers to hold the purse, and that often gets mixed into their personal banking arrangements. And we're encouraging the group, showing them a path to establishing bank accounts for the groups in the name of the groups. You know, introducing things like protocols for signatories and telling them what the commercial banks in Jamaica require, so that they can come prepared to get started on that journey as well.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make it practical to really help them achieve the improved structure that will earn the respect and show accountability and transparency. So other partners and collaborators will not hesitate at opportunities to entrust them with finances to get the work done.
Indeed. And Stephanie, some 3 or so months ago, when the US president issued a directive on taking office that has implications for the donor community, for the NGO community rather, it was something, that many stakeholders looked onto with a degree of trepidation. Based on your own organization and vantage point, how crucial do you see this kind of support being, especially in this context of potential drying up of donor funds from the U.S. window?
The non-profit sector is very similar to the for-profit sector in that approaches that we implement as an organization, very important. So for instance, in your business, you know that there is always competition, there is always need for retooling because things change. And so it's the same for the nonprofit sector. And so it's very important because you never know what's the landscape that you're moving into. And that's one thing that COVID definitely brought home, that need to be agile and to pivot as situations may change. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning, good financial management is extremely crucial for civil society organizations because that is what will help a donor, and a donor can be an international development partner, it can be a business person within your community, as well as it can be an individual within your community. And what persons want to know at the end of the day is that even if it's $5 that I have given to you, support your mission, that you can account for how that $5 was spent. So there needs to be transparency, accountability, and also from an organizational perspective, you have to think of sustainability, and that is going to come into play in terms of how it is that you budget the resources that you have in hand. And so extremely, extremely important. And we know that at the community level, that civil society organizations are the backbones of our communities in terms of meeting the needs on the ground. Civil society organizations have always been there and will continue to be there. What we want to see now is a strengthening of those organizations that they can operate in a way that is in line with good management practices.
Yeah. All right. For organizations that are listening to this conversation right now or may come into knowledge of this upcoming opportunity, across social media platforms, and they find that they're interested, how can they sign up or at least get more information about, availing themselves of these upcoming workshops?
We're encouraging persons who are interested to sign up right away, right now, by going to the JN Foundation pages on social media. That's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. You will find a link there that you can use to register for the workshops. You can also go to jnfoundation.com. There is a huge banner on the website. You cannot miss it. And it will take you to an application form that you share some information about yourself and your group, and we will tell you whether you are lucky enough to make it in the workshop of your choice.
Indeed. All right, and in terms of final words from each of you, I'll start with Stephanie. Any final remarks you wish to make, Stephanie?
I would say don't let this opportunity miss you. Limited scholarships are available. Please make sure, sign up, register today. Just to repeat, Monday, April 28th will be Kingston. Tuesday, April 29th, we're in Mandeville. And Wednesday, April 30th, we're in Ocho Rios. And Thursday, May 1st, we are in Montego Bay. This is a wonderful opportunity. We will have representatives from the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Society, Companies Office on hand. This is a wonderful opportunity to gain information that will strengthen your organization, as well as to network with other entities and also to speak with representatives from agencies that are important to your organization development.
All right, and then Claudine, your final words from the JN family.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Please take along, if you are coming, your documentation and so on. We can help you to get closer to formalizing your registration if you're not yet registered. The DCFS will be on hand, that is the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies, will be on hand to provide information and guidance for that. Jane Bank will be there as well to accommodate and guide account opening activities. So come on time, come with an open mind and a happy heart, and we will complement your efforts by helping you to structure your organization to become more and to earn the respect that you truly deserve for the work you're doing. These are community champions, eh? We want to really empower them to have greater impact.
Absolutely. All right, really thank you for sharing with us this morning, ladies, and do wish for you a good rest of the day and, of course, every success with this particular initiative.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you as well.
And on behalf of the people who will be taking up in Kingston, Manchester, St. Anne, and St. James, I must thank you on their behalf. All right, so that was, listeners, Stephanie Coy. She is the program manager of the Field Support Services Project Caribbean, and Claudine Allen. Claudine is the general manager of the JN Foundation. Thank both ladies for having made it straight up this morning. We are up on the break, so we're going to go to the break and come back with more of your calls as we close out this morning's broadcast here on News Talk 93 FM. Remember, the call-in lines are 876-212-9824 or 876-4. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Marlon.
Hi, good morning, Sir John.
A couple things here.
Yeah, man.
So it has come out to light now that an agreement was made between Andrew Holness and Sir Dillon of Civil Rights that he gets a select position a ministerial post and don't bother for run for the seat.
Share with me the publication. You say it has come to light, or it has come to public knowledge. Share where you get that from? It's the Gleaner, the Observer. Which reputable entity is providing that information?
Ask Bradley Avenue. You get your problem. Bradley Avenue have it straight.
So what I say, John? In other words, in order to not disrespect my broadcast, just come and indicate, say, boy, you run a little propaganda piece. So
No,
you're
man,
contending that, or you're surmising that Andrew Holness did what? Repeat it for the benefit of the listeners.
Made an arrangement with the Civil Right. And by the way, what a act. What all the man go shoot up and go shoot the man driver?
Which man shoot up which man driver?
Yeah, it's not like paper.
My brother.
Look here.
The Civil Right indicated yesterday
the police say that the man look for a man of interest named Bug, who is the person who shoot the driver of Dylan Civil Right.
So watch me now, John. You know that we support the work of the police, right? So anybody the police identifies as a person of interest in relation to the commission of any crime or act of wrongdoing, they have the full imprimatur of well-thinking Jamaicans like myself and your good self, I assume, so to do, no, sir?
Let me move on. Because I want
no, but I have a question just before you move on.
Yeah, man.
You made mention of some appointments as a Senate and minister and whatnot. Now the question is, as I asked my colleague co-host on this program this morning, how much closer to winning North Central St. Andrew does any of the things you mentioned a while ago bring the PNP?
No. Look here, the PNP.
Yeah.
It's not really worried about that. I'm not saying that. We know that in this election, if Christian Tavares is there, he might get a run for money from Chris Henry. But Dylan is there. We will see it. And we're comfortable.
Oh.
But you know that Andrew is really one Dylan see right there. We know.
Oh, you know. Okay.
Well, we know that.
So, do you also know? Right? Or is it something known to you? What is alleged that Mark Golding doesn't want Kenneth Russell there, but instead they want Katie and Carty?
Nothing like that. He go present him yesterday.
Present him.
Yesterday he went down the you find
the timing quite interesting. So soon as a certain bit of info began making the rounds, you see a hurriedly put together so-called candidate presentation exercise. Now the question is, how many times the PNP going to present the same people and call it a candidate presentation?
My brother, is the first time the presentation take place like that. But anyway,
how long now since Kenneth Russell has been designated? John, before we pivot, how long has it been now since Kenneth Russell's emergence as the standard bearer designate?
People have been in conference longer than Kenneth Russell as a president yet. Anyway, let's move on. We don't have time for that, my brother. We have time for that national issue.
So Delano's thing is national issue, but Kenneth Russell is not national issue.
No, make a pass that already, man.
Okay, let's come to the other point. What's the other point?
Yesterday, the Prime Minister went down to Panassus and started running up his mouth as usual. The Jamaican people are so tired of hearing and doing it now. Look at him and realize that him had a real problem with the JLP. Then I realize that anyway. Around 2022 the people have rejected him. When he went to Panassus, he said that agriculture must be treated as a national emergency like crime. You know? And when I hear that, I laugh. Let me tell you something. I had a piece of land across Bernard Land that was farming 10 acres. Raised pig, the cash crop, and some coconut plant and some cane. It was taken away from us. Them tell we go one place. We not go be done with that. It was taken away from us. My best land in Jamaica to do farming was taken away.
What was the basis on which it was quote unquote taken away from you and the us you're referring to? What was the basis?
If you have the people who were there and them when I want to explain. People that take it.
Oh, so there was a relocation. So I'm saying, what was the basis on which that relocation happened?
The best land for the farming.
Hold on, John. Hold on, man.
I want to tell you, them saying I put house there.
Housing, okay, all right.
Okay.
So hold on, pause and walk with me a bit.
Don't break, let me continue. The lands at Inzud, which is one of the best farmland, was given to a man. Him said, boy, I'm have the farm. After some years, when I do the farm, I was not a bill. Lands in St. Anne, lands in Trelawney, lands in Portland were good farmlands. Where people start to farm on them and some build house on them. How can you talk about food security and then these lands about the farming? You tell them I put
Alright, so watch me now, John. Watch me now. Do you appreciate that in as much as we need agricultural production, we also need to attend to the housing needs of the population? I want to understand if you agree with that.
Not at the expense of using the best farmlands.
So for the build out of housing, can people build a house in the sky?
But there are other lands can use. All
right, so watch me now. Let me come to the substantive point I'm making. Let me come to the substantive point I'm making. Because Parnassus flew over your head entirely. Because what you spoke about when you think of Parnassus was the Prime Minister's voice yesterday and the Jamaican people you're contending done with him from 2022 and all kinds of something. So watch me now. You see Parnassus and projects like the Essex Valley and the Pedro Plains that is to come are aimed at and will seek to bring into production by way of irrigation support more agricultural lands.
My brother, JLP is not in local farming. For them priority, we give them big friends. The license.
So the JLP is in foreign farming. The JLP farms in Texas and Arkansas. Well, I don't want us to talk at the same time. John, I don't want us to talk at the same time. You said something a while ago. Hold on, John. Hold on. I'm going to ask you to pause, sir. I'm asking you to pause what you're saying. I'm asking you to pause what you're saying. When you speak with some program presenters, you will be able to drop little rubbish and run. You will not do that. You will not do that.
Big man. You do have more 50 or 60 now. So don't believe that you're the best around you. No. You're the least listenership. But we have to entertain the program because you have people listening. You're the least listenership.
John, if it's even one person who listens, that's a valued listener.
I offer you the courtesy of calling the program.
And I like that, John. And I encourage you to call and continue to call.
Have a good day,
but no, man, we're not reach a good day yet. We're not reach the part yet. You made mention of local farming, right? That the JLP don't deal with local farming. So I'm putting the question to you. Is it that the JLP deals with farming in Arkansas and Texas? Is foreign farming they deal with?
What you see happening now? Because they were forced to do it. It's a European nation money. And a Jamaican money I do what was done yesterday.
They were forced to do it.
Remember that.
So why couldn't the nation, that nation you're referring to, in this case it is the UK, yes? Why didn't they come and do it when Omar Davies was finance minister and when Peter Phillips was finance minister?
Look here, look at it. Sometimes something that in place there already.
The pipeline. So what you have is a government that is clearing out the PNP's pipeline. That's what is happening. It seems like that's what is happening. We have a government that is attending to the things that have been stuck in the PNP's proverbial pipeline. Now, we have lines available, 212-9824, and there's also 462-0919. Now, what I would suggest to John is that agriculture, as the Prime Minister would have underscored yesterday, and as the Agriculture Minister has been saying several times over, is a strategic imperative here in Enterprise Jamaica. It is a considerable employer of persons. It is a considerable contributor to GDP. It is indeed a considerable contributor to our foreign exchange earnings, because a number of agricultural commodities are ultimately exported to the rest of the world from here in Jamaica. Now, while we have had displacement in agricultural land, as John has placed on the table, and he's correct, this has been a phenomenon over successive administrations. There are several schemes, especially when you move west of Spanish Town. So when you consider Magill, Palms, and Whitewater Meadows and Innswood, Whitewater Meadows, for example, would have come on stream in the early 2000s. Those were prime agricultural lands, yes? And they went into housing. In the early 2000s, John, listeners, P.J. Patterson was Prime Minister of Jamaica. So the point is, there will always be this pursuit of land for the purpose of housing. That does not, however, mean that appropriate investments are not to be made in bringing land into production, appropriately resourced in terms of irrigation support, so that you can have agricultural enterprise taking place even while you respond to the housing need of the population. Yes? So let us be clear about that. Now, if John was involved in a lucrative agricultural venture, he said he was raising pigs and farming this, that, over in Bernard Lodge, or wherever, it is very curious that somebody would just take up themselves and discontinue that. Very curious. If you were in farming and it was lucrative, why would you discontinue that to just itch up every day down 89 Old Hope Road and essentially move from being an enterprising and industrious farmer to being a lumpen? Anyway, what I would say to John is that Parnassus, the Pedro Plains, and other appropriate areas are being resourced with irrigation, because that is what has created a part of the conundrum we're having here in Jamaica, where we have not been feeding ourselves sufficiently, and of course producing in terms of agricultural enterprise sufficiently. I gather we have another call on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, sir. Morning.
Morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to talk about a chemical that we use for spray crops.
Yes.
It's herbicide, atrazine.
Atrazine. Is this by Monsanto?
I think I one of them, I read that this research where they are saying that they add a small amount of this atrazine in a pond with frogs, and the male frogs end up turning female. So that chemical is a dangerous chemical, and when we use that spray with weed and the water drain and end up in the stream, rivers, oceans, whatever.
Up in the water.
So I think in Jamaica we need not. I touched it the last time, but I never touched the atrazine. I didn't do this research. I think we need to carry out a comprehensive research analyze the composition of our water.
Mm-hmm.
To find out exactly what in the water and where it is polluted with whatever chemicals. Because really and truly, we're supposed to have what you call watershed areas, Nobody should have like latrine and so on within the watershed,
a certain radius.
Anything happening because
it's like you're keeping the watershed area sterile.
Right. All right. Now people live by water around the watershed.
No latrine, no grave, no fair dig in proximity to.
Right. And it's happening because I can tell you up Kata, people live up there. And they bury dead and everything up there, same way.
So
we're really playing around, we're not doing things the right and proper way. Our watershed should be protected. Another thing I want to touch quickly. I think we could be making a whole lot of money from our sewage,
Mm-hmm.
In England, they use the sewage. If you ferment it, you go through certain process using bacteria or whatever, and produce methane. This methane, they use it in England to produce, to turn the turbine can produce heat when you burn it, and produce electricity.
So effluent-powered turbines.
Right. So it's the methane that they produce.
The gas that...
And the Chinese, they are very efficient in that, I think Scientific Research Council has set up a few they call it biodigesters. But I don't see where I don't know what is happening. Because even in China they use the pig manure to produce gas to cook and they are so efficient when it comes to science. The dry part could be the sewage could be used for manure. So we could be saving millions of dollars that could be used as manure. Remember, I think they're still importing it, manure stink, very stink. It's really human feces make that fertilizer, and they add a few other elements to it, the compounds to it, like more phosphorus and nitrate.
They created some controversy some time ago because there was this solution of fertilizer that ended up being linked to some beet army worms so many years ago. And you will hear callers like John calling in to raise that issue about fertilizer derived from human excrement.
I'm not sure, because the Minister Clark during that time was the heaviest user of it, in his cane farm. And it's still around because the truth about it improved the soil, It's not because it's more organic. So it overall
it adds nourishment to the soil.
Yeah, not only nourishment, but it improves the texture of the soil, the micro organisms in the soil prefer that type of fertilizer. Because the other one actually kill and damage the water of the micro organisms.
All right, Louis, I have to run. I'm going to take another call. But thanks for your input as always. You have good perspectives. Yeah, man. All right, so we're going to go to another call here on Straight Up. We are in the final minutes of our broadcast of this here Thursday, April 24. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, Brother Marlon, Senator. Fox here again.
Yes, sir, Fox.
Yes, one little thing I want to show you this morning. What is happening is it North Central Casamuda?
Yes, so that's North Central St. Andrew, yeah.
Yes, I want to tell my good friend Susan Senior, because she know me well and I know her very well. The Jamaica Labour Party, Marlon, is not a private or one-man club. You understand? So I don't want to come out and attack my good friend Carrie Douglas because she supports a candidate. You understand? Me no want, just like I tell Venetia Phillip, which is my good friend, and what have happened in Westmoreland, Marlon Morgan, with Garfield James and the MP Wilson. When you Marlon Wilson.
Yes.
You understand? And I tell Venetia Phillip, look, we are one party and the people are spoken. That is the first thing, Brother Marlon.
Yeah, the democracy, you're saying.
Yeah, me not really hear a police still, Marlon, really is a listen to this man to address it still. Let them come together and tell senior, Councillor Susan, if the party is not a one-man club, because if you are to speak truth, Brother Marlon, we could say Delano Sleeper has got his chance at the week already in St. Thomas, right? Yes, he didn't make it out. And then with young Finkel, with young Tobias Finkel, I would only say, Brother Marlon, that I don't know much about him. The people out here don't know much about him. And everybody is questioning, where was he all along, you know?
Yeah.
So we believe, we are not like the People National Party who fling out people and cast bang around. We are on a mission to get the third term. Right? So all Moan and Marlon just come together. And you is a senior man, I expect to hear from you, Marlon, and to others in the party. I've been calling for Mantico all long. And I can't hear Mantico at Delman's Road. You need to come out and address these things.
So you raise a good point, sir. So just to be clear, political parties will have candidate selection issues that it has to attend to from time to time. Now, a political party has to find mechanisms to treat with the aspirations of persons who are offering themselves that are as undisruptive as possible. And these kinds of things, you do not necessarily have them unfolding in the public square. When the party gives the green light to aspirants to go and solicit the support of the constituents, then a contest full-blown is on, as we have seen in recent weeks in Westmorland and Western. There you go. But unlike some places where it is just a straight parachuting of people without, as we saw with Colin Bell, being displaced in Eastern Portland in favor of the Queen Ifrika dubbed the Losat Buchanan. Yes? These kinds of things happen elsewhere. So some of those persons... Well, not to mention that one. That one is the mother of all, scandals.
Yeah, so we believe in a democracy.
Yeah.
A democratic process.
And the party's secretariat, though it may not be happening in as timely a manner as some would want to see it unfolding in, there are some things that you deal with, clinically and appropriately behind the scenes, and that is happening as we speak. So just stand by. Just stand by for the persons who are looking on in terms of North Central St. Andrew. We shall see what we shall see in the days ahead.
Yeah, because we believe in a Brother Marlon. We're not speaking.
Yeah.
The PNP don't tell you, my brethren. You talk straight, you talk fast.
Yeah.
You don't throw on the bush. And you stand up to hear the question.
There you go. Alright, well, I don't know facts and try to squeeze in one last one. I appreciate the perspectives this morning, my brother. Good. Alright, we essentially have a minute remaining. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning. You're on straight up. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. I see that young have a phone number with the producer. Need to talk to you, please.
All right, sure. I will leave my number with her so that she can pass it on to you. All the best, my brother.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, good. Let me just wrap up. We have essentially come to the end of this morning's broadcast. Would like to thank my producer and broadcast technician, Tanya Richards. To advertise with us, please call our sales agents at 876-831-1846. You may also email our sales department at newstalk93fmsales@gmail.com. gmail.com. We thank our callers, we thank you, our listeners, for having kept our company this morning, and for my guests, Dr. Nadine Spence and Danielle and Claudine Allen of JN Foundation, and Stephanie Coy. We thank them for their contribution to this morning's broadcast. We do it all over again tomorrow, so join the program tomorrow